Hello everyone and welcome back to round 4 of our F1 Manager 23 Alfa Romeo career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here in Azerbaijan. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live a couple of days ago from Albert Park, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. Of course, we're kind of getting back into this series, and Albert Park was quite a crazy race, but also a nice reminder of just how much we're set to struggle with Alfa Romeo throughout Season 1 of this series. Still down in last place at the moment with no points on the board there, and you can see a 19th and 20th in the Drivers' Championship as well. Is hardly the way we would have wanted to kick off this series, but we've got a few weeks before the next Grand Prix there, and the big thing I'm quite nervous about actually is the regulation vote. Of course, we've also got the big upgrade on the side pods as well coming in the very near future, but we've had an email come through from the board. Still medium confidence as my leadership as team principal, and we also apparently have got some driver development points as well that we can try to use. So yeah, we've got, you know, pretty balanced there on Bottas's side of things. In terms of development then on Zhou Guanyu's side of things, I think we actually want to try and put the focus onto his long run pace there, of course, and maybe, just maybe, over the next couple of episodes, obviously, we'll try and get some more upgrades done as well. Of course, yeah, we've got to be making sure that, obviously, we're keeping all of our engineers and things like that, obviously, up to snuff as well. So I'm going to put a load of gym training on throughout the rest of this week. You know, all these kind of things you've really, obviously, got to be quite careful with, obviously, inside F1 Manager. Make sure that, obviously, they get their rest days as well. So we'll chuck in one pit stop drill day before the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. But, obviously, yeah, there we go. Get those all confirmed. But yeah, of course, we're really just kind of waiting. I didn't confirm any of those, did I? Beat Zender. I'm probably butchering his name, but we're gonna keep that as it is at the moment. Everything like that. So yeah, fingers crossed. Obviously, as we fast forward on, there we go. More suspension parts then have been completed because we actually need a lot of parts put onto Bottas's car, so we can't actually manufacture anything at the moment, so it's very much just going to be a question of right at the last moment, of course, try and get those new suspension upgrades. Obviously, everything else applied to both of the cars. As you can see, there goes the new big chassis upgrade as well. But I'm most intrigued to see what the new regulation vote is going to be for next season. So, taking this into consideration, we're proposing new technical regulations for 2024. So, we've got the option for cooling focus changes or aero focus changes. I don't really think either of them are going to help us out massively. So, we'll vote for cooling focus changes then. Obviously, just going to mean people are going to have to try and manage things a whole lot more. And there we go, the all-new side pods have been completed then. So if we head over to the manufacturing, we need obviously those new side pods trying to go onto the car. It's going to take up to 16 days there, so we're actually going to have to try and speed that up because of course we need everything up on the car, I think, before Baku. Yes, so 15 days away, of course, and obviously we have to spend a lot of money as well because what other parts do we need? We need chassis, front wing and rear wing then. There we go. Actually, we've got some of those. That's all right. So obviously we'll have to swap out. No, obviously we want the new parts, obviously, on both of the cars. So yeah, we'll actually looks like we have got the So we haven't actually designed, sorry, any new parts then for the front wing or the rear wing, I believe, as well. So there we go. Bottas's car up to snuff once again. I think we are going to need to manufacture, though, a couple more floors ready for the next couple of races as well. But yeah, this big side pod upgrade, though, is going to be absolutely essential, of course. We also have some tension between Zhou Guanyu and Jorn Becker. I'm not exactly sure why they're not getting along, but it's going to have an impact on drivers' morale. So we will intervene. We haven't really got anything to lose by intervening there. But, you know, these little things are quite nice, of course, in the game. In terms of the technical regulation, it looks like we have actually... Oh, no, so everything, it's gone against us then, so it's going to be airflow focus changes, which is a bit of a shame. But of course, you know, that's the way the cookie crumbles. As we still need more of the new chassis as well. But yeah, we need to try and obviously get that side pod on both of the cars as well, of course, before we head into the weekend. Lots and lots going on, of course, inside F1 Manager. Sometimes I struggle to keep up with it, as Bottas as well needs a new gearbox, so we'll swap that out onto the second one. Joe Guanyu as well might need the same thing. No, his gearbox actually a lot better at the moment. So in terms of side pods then, we will get them both onto the new ones. Of course, we've got the old ones as well if needed. Obviously ready for the weekend, and obviously we'll make sure that we're manufacturing even more of those. So yeah, plenty of things going on behind the scenes. So another $2 million spent. But I think we're finally ready then to head into Azerbaijan and Baku. Obviously we'll just quickly sort out the performance targets as well. Do we think... I'm not convinced we'll make Q2 there, so actually I'm going to leave that. And where is the hot streak? Is 15th as well. So yeah, we'll leave that for the moment. But yeah, let's head into Baku.
Greetings from Azerbaijan, where we're back in the country's capital. Well, it's not every weekend that Formula One arrives at a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but arrive here we have. Drivers will race around the historic streets of Baku, which includes the race calendar's tightest corner, beneath a medieval fortress wall. Baku City Circuits challenges drivers like few other tracks. The tight section through the old city demands precision. The main straight, pure aggressive acceleration. And every corner is a challenge for tyres.
It's not a usual F1 weekend though, with qualifying brought forward to make way for an all-out sprint race, which will decide the grade for the Grand Prix.
So, let the weekend begin.
So I had actually forgot, of course, that the sprint race weekends are back once again inside F1 Manager. So what I'm going to do today is we're going to go through, because you haven't quite got the full new system, obviously, from 2023. We've actually got 2022's sprint race regulations for some reason. What I'm going to do is we're going to run through qualifying and the sprint race today, and then we'll actually be back tomorrow with another episode for the main event as well. So that's how we're going to do these sprint race weekends. Let me know down in the comments below, of course, if you're not a fan of them. Obviously, you know, I can try and make one even longer video from this series if it's something you guys would prefer, of course. But yeah, obviously, Baku is definitely going to be a lot about straight line speed, of course. So yeah, we'll try and make some tweaks to suit that. But of course, yeah, really, it is all about obviously just trying to make sure, you know, on the first runs that we got the car in a rough ballpark of obviously where we want it to be as well there. But yeah, let's head out then into free practice 1. Yeah, like I said, I had completely forgot, of course, that sprint races would be a thing inside F1 Manager 23, but it's going to allow you guys to have more of the Alfa Romeo career mode as well, of course. I've had some questions from some of you as well, actually saying that you'd love for me to do another series as well with a top team. So I'm tempted to start a championship with Mercedes as well, but of course, you know, we'll wait and see. You know, I want to get a few more races into the Alfa Romeo career mode before I do anything like that, because I do still feel like we're learning a lot at this stage of the game. But yeah, fingers crossed, obviously, throughout free practice 1. Obviously, we're going to gather as much data as we possibly can on the car, and then obviously get ourselves ready for the rest of the weekend. You know, obviously, sprint race, I'm looking forward to that. 17 laps here, so kind of my thought process behind splitting the video into 2 is it'll mean I can obviously put a little bit more focus into both of the sessions, obviously, rather than just having one stupidly long video that's like an hour and a half long. But yeah, obviously, like I said, you know, if you'd rather I sort of, you know, run through them a little bit quicker, obviously we can do that in the future as well. You know, this channel, obviously this series is all kind of a little bit, you know, still experimental, everything like that, but so far is really, really good fun, of course. But looking at the early signs of the pace then, yeah, we're definitely going to be struggling this weekend. You know, this track not really going to suit us, very much going to play into Williams' hand, and Joe immediately not happy with the car there, so we'll bring him in. We'll do the same with Valtteri Bottas as they make their way through the final couple of corners. And yeah, we will have a look at what needs to be changed then on the car setup after that first session. There we go, both cars driving into the pit lane. But yeah, clearly everything just not quite where we wanted it. We need a lot more rear wing. Traction seems to be very, very... Actually, the straight line speed was very, very good, apparently. I'm just going to have to try and make some tweaks elsewhere. If we go like that, and if we go like that, that hopefully is going to give us a better indicator of where we're aiming for with Bottas. And again, obviously, we'll try and do similar things with Zhou Guanyu there. So clearly he likes a more oversteery car. And again, obviously, the straight line speed performance not looking fantastic. So we'll go like that with Zhou. Obviously, we'll sim a little bit forward and just see how they like those changes. You know, it is still a balancing act inside F1 Manager there. We can see Hamilton actually way down the order early on in the weekend. I would assume he's on a set of hards, which he is. But yeah, Charles Leclerc, of course, you know, took pole in real life at this venue back at the start of the year. I'm sure he would love to do so the same today. But yeah, Bottas and Zhou then ready to go back out onto the track. And obviously, hopefully, they're just going to be able to continue on with some, you know, just try and build up more confidence in the car. Obviously, we've got the new massive chassis upgrade as well, which side pod upgrade, which of course I think we're hoping is going to bring a lot more performance to the car, and obviously hopefully a bit of extra consistency as well. But you can see, yeah, it's going to be a weekend where Williams, I think, are going to be strong. So of course, you know, if we're a bit closer to them, then maybe we stand a good chance, of course. And obviously, when we get the next development window, then obviously we'll dive in and do some more big upgrades in that regard as well. But yeah, making a lot of progress through FP1, of course. Obviously, you don't get a chance to do as many laps around this venue as you will around a lot of places, obviously, just because the lap time is very, very long. So obviously, to try and gather all the data that you need for both drivers can be a little bit more difficult. But of course, yeah, we'll wait and see as to what the feedback is like there, as Bottas pretty much getting to a point where he's happy. Hopefully we'll get confirmation of that in just a second, but often it has actually been Zhou that provides us with the valuable data actually a little bit quicker there, as once again Zhou is going to, and clearly a lot happier now with the car, so we'll bring him back in at the end of this one. Bottas still not getting anything. He's actually just bringing the engine down into the west. So I'm tempted actually to put a whole new power unit obviously in the car and kind of sacrifice the sprint race a little bit, or at least obviously have the straight line speed ready for the rest of the weekend there. But Bottas, yeah, we'll bring him in as well, obviously, just kind of see what he's saying as well at the end of the second runs. And of course, you know, maybe we'll have to try and copy a setup over from one driver onto the other, and with the exception of traction then, Bottas very, very happy, so we'll try and adjust that accordingly. We'll go like that. I mean, this is very, very close. Don't really want to lower the rear wing angle. That pretty much puts us in the blue in everything on Bottas's car, so we will get on with that, as we're going to hopefully see Zhou into the pit lane as well. And he's very, very happy with how things are looking there, so that's pretty good then from Zhou Guanyu's side of the garage. We'll try and just tweak the the front wing angle ever so slightly and just see if we can scrape any more bits of performance out of him. Again, not long left, of course, of FP1, so we'll send them back out onto the track again. And yeah, I think before we jump into qualifying, we'll probably take some grid penalties on Valtteri Bottas' side of the garage. Seemingly Zhou slightly better in terms of not destroying the car. You can see he's got a little bit of extra reliability there, so might obviously have to take penalties with him next weekend. But yeah, very little time then left here in FP1. Looks like a lot of other cars now have moved on to a set of at least soft compound tyres, or mediums at the very least. But we're definitely still a little way down on where I want to be there. But we got the setup dialed in. I don't think we can be too disappointed with that either. Of course, you know, really it is just a question of seeing what the pace is going to be like as we move into qualifying there. But yeah, as we round our way into the final minute of free practice, checkered flag is now out. We got a decent amount of lap time though with both of the drivers, so yeah, I don't think we can be too disappointed with that one. Zhou's actually obviously finished his final run, but Bottas in a little bit of a scrap with Fernando Alonso as he rounds his way in towards the final corner. So he'll finish that lap and head back into the pit lane as well then. But yeah, fairly happy with the way that's gone. I don't think we can be too disappointed there. Looks like Charles Leclerc, Pierre Gasly as well are both going to be taking some grid penalties this weekend. But, yeah, I mean, Logan Sargent, a second clear, also on a set of hard compound tyres, does not fill me with too much confidence. Let's get into qualifying. So I had actually forgot, of course, the fact that we only get one free practice session as well before we jump out into Friday night qualifying here. So things, yeah, getting a little bit interesting before we really dive into sort of the meat of the race weekend there. But Bottas is going to go out then ready for his first run. Zhou Guanyu just a little way behind, but obviously want to make sure that we don't get held up by any other cars heading back out onto the circuit. Again, well, obviously we did last weekend. We'll sit back, we'll watch and enjoy qualifying, obviously with the drivers there as we head down in towards someone. Looks like Bottas isn't going to have any traffic in the way. Verstappen just in front of him, starting a lap of his own there. But yeah, we'll obviously try and make sure that we monitor the times on both of the drivers. There we go. If we go down onto the timings, then of course hopefully we'll get some lap data. But yeah, not convinced we're quite going to have the pace this weekend. I have put that fresh power unit into Bottas's car, so of course, you know, he's often got a little bit more pace than Zhou Guanyu anyway. But hopefully, of course, he'll have just a little bit extra pace as well on top of that, obviously, as we move through this session. But you know, it is going to be a difficult one. Of course, you know, we've still got a lot of work to do behind the scenes with Alfa Romeo. So, you know, we're going to continue trying to develop the car as best as possible. You know, this first season really is going to be just mainly about not getting sacked with Alfa Romeo, all things considered there. As you can see, Bottas immediately 6/10 up on Zhou Guanyu through the first sector. So clearly that fresh power unit giving him a little bit of an extra boost, but often, yeah, like I said, we've seen Bottas with a couple of extra tenths anyway, so I'm sure, obviously, with the fresh power unit as well, that, of course, is just going to compound there. But still want to know, obviously, having manual control is, yeah, obviously just being able to use the battery and things like that. But Russell sets the pace down on a 1:43.5 at the end of the first runs. Magnussen ends up about 7/10 away in the Haas car, so we'll wait and see how close Bottas is to them. 41.99 sector 2, 42.7 for Zhou Guanyu, so it really has been a lap not to write home about for our second Alfa Romeo. Verstappen now on a 43.1, but Bottas only 2 seconds away. They're on a 45.1. I mean, it's going to be even more depressing for Zhou Guanyu, isn't it? He's going to be well over a second behind, which he is. And that's going to be a 1:46.5 there. I hope he made a couple of small mistakes on that lap. But that was not great by Zhou Guanyu. Of course, we'll definitely have the time to go out for another run. But Zhou Guanyu is in trouble. We're actually going to go out then with a few minutes left here of Q1, just because I want to try and make sure that we don't get held up in any traffic. But I'm going to try and ride with Zhou Guanyu for most of the lap. I just want to make sure that the other car doesn't get held up by one of the Williams as we head out of pit lane there, which it looks like they will. So fingers crossed that Williams gets a move on. Zhou Guanyu going to be in even more trouble here. So he's going to potentially come out in quite a lot of traffic. That Williams is going to jump out of the way, which is quite nice. So yeah, Bottas then has got free track space ahead of him throughout the rest of the lap. But yeah, we were just so far down in Sector 1. In Sector 2, I don't really know what happened for Zhou Guanyu. Clearly struggling on the older power unit. But, I mean, 9/10 away from anyone? Surely you can find a lot of extra pace here in Q2 there, as I'm not too afraid, obviously, if he gets invalidated on this lap, or slowed down, sorry, I will quite happily bring him back in and obviously try and bolt on a fresh set of the soft again, just to go for one last ditch attempt. But Bottas, like I said, he's got a golden opportunity there. As are we going to find some time? Yes, we are. A good couple of tenths through that first sector. Bottas, though, no, he hasn't. He's still half a second away from Valtteri Bottas then, as Bottas still looking to improve here. He's only a couple of tenths away from trying to make it through into Q2, but Oscar Piastri, I think, is certainly one that is going to be looking to try and find some time as well. As Bottas, what is his Sector 2 split going to be down the hill? 41.9 again. So he's definitely improving at the moment and might now see himself through and into Q2 there. But what is Zhou Guanyu going to be able to do as he heads down the hill in towards the final corner of his qualifying run? 42.4. How is he so far back behind Bottas here? It's not even like it was a one-lap problem. I think we're going to have to put a fresh power unit in the back of Zhou Guanyu's car as well. As Bottas up towards the line then, he is going to improve, I believe. but only good enough for P16 in the end. So that's Bottas out in Q1 of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix there. Obviously, we've got the sprint race to try and make up some extra spots, but Zhou, he's going to be way behind, isn't he? Still down in P20. I mean, he improves by 0.4 of a second there, but that's been a nightmare. And yeah, irrespective of what anyone else does, we are out in Q1. Well, there we go then, 18th and 20th on the grid, ready for the Azerbaijan GP sprint race there. But Carlos Sainz fastest in his Ferrari, so clearly Ferrari have got tremendous one-lap pace this series. Pierre Gasly, Logan Sargent tied as they both make it through into Q2 there. Nick de Vries agonisingly close to his first Q2 of the season, but Oscar Piastri struggling as well in that McLaren there. But Bottas a 44.9, Zhou Guanyu a 46.1. He has got a lot of work to do. We're going to put a fresh power unit in the back of his car as well. But yeah, let's get into the sprint race.
Welcome back as the drivers gear themselves up for today's sprint, the results of which will determine the grid for the Grand Prix. Of course, this is the first sprint of the season, adding an extra challenge for the drivers and their teams. But as ever, in Formula One, an extra challenge is an extra opportunity.
Points go to the top finishers in the sprint, and with no mandatory pit stops, it's all about the racing on the track.
So let's see then how the teams tackle today's sprint, here in Baku.
Right, well, as mentioned, I'm going to put a fresh power unit in the back of Zhou Guanyu's car as well, but I think all we can really hope for today is that we get a little bit of a miracle there. Like we said, going to bolt on. You know, we can't exactly take penalties, of course, and even if we did, we're starting at the back of the field anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. Fresh ERS, fresh engine, and fresh gearbox there going into the back of the car. But also in terms of tyre strategy, yeah, mediums I think is going to be the way to go, but I think all we can really hope for is, of course, that other cars struggle, or, you know, we get an incident or something that allows us to try and gamble it. No chance of rain by the looks of it.
Sprint today sees the drivers take on 17 laps of the Baku City Circuit.
Expect to see plenty making the most of Baku's long, wide main straight. That's going to be their best chance to overtake and secure a strong result.
Forget the scheduled pit stops today, it's all about racing. Now's the time for the sprint, here in Baku. And it's lights out, and away we go.
Well, good clean start there for Max Verstappen at the front of the field, but yeah, we better just double check. We're going to have no chance of rain or anything like that as we barrel down in towards turn one. Bottas already trying to make a move, and you know what, we're just going to tell him, go aggressive on the overtakes today, Valtteri. You know, I'm not too worried if you know, one of the cars gets trashed, something like that. We've just got to try and make progress here, and instantly, therefore, that hasn't worked out for me because Bottas has not gone down the inside of Alex Albon there, but it looks like Alonso has moved himself up into P2 off the start. Can we go? Do we gamble it on the deploy? I don't really want to risk it too much on the battery too early on in the race. Like I said, we're kind of hoping for a miracle in terms of, you know, an incident somewhere else that allows us, say, to pit, go onto a set of subcompound tyres or a safety car or something in this Grand Prix. We've got a couple of cars side by side a bit further up. Lando Norris seems to have a good view of this. As Gasly and Yuki Tsunoda, the two former AlphaTauri drivers, side by side into the castle. And somehow they've made that work. Fair play to them. Good racing respect. As Bottas already losing a spot there by the looks of it to Oscar Piastri. So must have missed that one through the first couple of corners. And, I mean, how are we already a second behind anyone off the start of this race? We haven't really got much in the way of extra fuel to use either. So we can only hope that maybe Piastri... was just trying to use a bit of battery at the start of the race as well there. But yeah, Piastri pulling away. Albon and Sargent as well, breaking free from the McLaren car as well there. So really is looking like it's going to be a tough old afternoon here. So yeah, Verstappen leads the way at the end of lap one. Are we going to see Alonso, though, trying to line up a move there? As you can see, the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc as well, waiting in the wings. But look at Fernando Alonso going for it here at the start of the Grand Prix. Of course, DRS already enabled in just lap 2, and Fernando Alonso is into the lead of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix sprint race there. Bottas is still losing a bit of time to the cars in front of him, so we might try and get them both onto the aggression setting as well there. But Fernando Alonso into the lead of the Azerbaijan GP sprint race. Of course, Red Bull have very much had it their own way so far this season, but I mean, if Aston Martin can do it, we certainly would love to see a good performance by another team this weekend. Now, it seems like now we're starting to get a little bit more in line with Piastri in front of us, at least on Bottas' side of the garage, but Zhou Guanyu still very, very much struggling at the start of this race then as we round our way towards the end of lap 2. But yeah, Leclerc dropping back slightly, so might not quite have the pace of Verstappen and Alonso at the front of the field. Bottas, though, is going to stay within the range of Oscar Piastri in front of him, but looks like everyone is just trying to have a bit of a slipstream fest at the moment. There we go, DRS enabled for Bottas. Again, we'll bring them both back down, actually, into the neutral on the ERS there. There's Sargent and Albon having a bit of a battle just in front of me here. But yeah, I'm certainly going to try and keep my eye out on the pace of Fernando Alonso there as the Williams side-by-side in towards turn 3. And looking like they're able to keep it fairly clean and tidy at the moment. So it looks like Bottas is able to just about keep in touch with Oscar Piastri in front of him. This is a fantastic little battle going on between the Williams cars there. Albon's going to have the inside. It's going to then switch back to Sargent through the next corner here. And now Albon able to complete the move there on his young American teammate. But yeah, Fernando Alonso, he's actually on soft, okay. That I wasn't expecting, so that might explain why we're losing quite a bit early on here. Why have the team told us to go mediums then if everyone else is going to be on a set of soft compound tyres? Are we expecting their tyres to fall off later on in the day? I mean, they've already lost 10% in 2 laps. I mean, 17 laps there, 5% a lap is going to be 85% by the end of this. Surely the AI aren't going to pit today, but we're definitely going to have to try and monitor the tyre life of some of these other cars then. You can see Alonso rounding his way through. I mean, Leclerc now is gaining a place on Verstappen as well there, but I don't think the tyre wear is going to be as drastically bad as we were originally expecting. But we're really going to have to try and wait and see then whether the AI's tyres are going to fall off later on in this sprint race there. So look at this, we've got 3 cars, 3 teams, 3 power units battling it out down in towards turn 3 once again. But now Charles Leclerc into the lead of the Grand Prix. But yeah, I mean, why have we not been put on a set of soft compound tyres? I will never quite understand why the game didn't say that would be the best way to go here. And 3 seconds back now already. We're in a bit of no man's land in this Grand Prix. Yellow flags though, multiple cars involved in a crash. What's happened? Who's potentially out of the Grand Prix? We do with a safety car. I'd take a safety car. Looks like Piastri and Logan Sargent, 2 of our rookies. And oh, Oscar just getting a little bit out of shape there. He's picked up front wing damage, but they both got away with it. So Piastri might now... I mean, McLaren gutted with that, apparently. We've got some debris on the circuit. Sargent got a penalty for that? Sorry? Logan Sargent got a penalty for someone running into the back of him. Don't quite know how that one works, but maybe that's going to allow us to try and hassle these guys a little bit more throughout the afternoon. How on earth has that worked out that way? Well, it looked genuinely just like Oscar Piastri locked up behind him, but are we going to see that McLaren into the pit lane then at the end of this lap? No, we're not. So Oscar Piastri trying to hang on out there. So we're going to have to try and monitor the gap then to that McLaren car, and obviously hopefully Bottas can try and bring the gap down as best as possible here, as we are saving a little bit of fuel. Charles Leclerc now seems to have a bit of a window out at the front of the field there, as Verstappen's still locked into a battle with Carlos Sainz, and yeah, Alonso, Sergio Perez there waiting in the wings as well. There's Bottas, Stroll even, and Russell side by side up their hill. That's rather brave. Is Georgie Boy going to be able to make it happen? Not quite there. Off the corner as well. But it looks like, yeah, the gap now is starting already just to come down a little bit between Bottas and Oscar Piastri here. So now we're inside the range. We've got to go for it. And obviously we've still got Bottas on the high aggression. Let's wait and see then if he can try and make a move then down in towards turn 3. We're going to have the slipstream, we're going to have the DRS there to the inside of Oscar Piastri we go, and this one should be a fairly textbook overtake as we head down into the next corner, and we are through And we are up into P18 then. We're no longer last and second to last this afternoon, which it worries me just how happy we are with that. Goes to show the unique challenge that is this series so far. But 2.6 seconds back then behind Logan Sargent. So we're going to have to try and make sure that we try and close up to him as well. Obviously, we know he's got that penalty, but I don't actually know. I'm assuming it's going to be 5 seconds, but I don't actually know for sure there as what is happening with Zhou Guanyu this afternoon. Just cannot match anyone's pace at this stage of the afternoon. Despite the fact Oscar Piastri's got damage, Zhou Guanyu still can't keep up there. As Ferrari now into a 1-2 in this Grand Prix. Verstappen and Alonso still duking it out here as their tyres, their tyres are easily going to make it to the end of the race. Can we have a look anywhere if we've got any penalties? Yeah, Sargent's got a 5-second penalty then in this Grand Prix, so I'm actually going to try and get Bottas just to push on and try and use a little bit of the extra fuel here. But yeah, really, really difficult, of course, isn't it, early on this season? I mean, I've seen a couple of other people that have attempted, for whatever reason, with Alfa Romeo, and they also seem to find it is just a true backmarker car early on in the campaign, as there we go, we'll use all of the available fuel at the moment. But yeah, now 2 seconds back behind Logan Sargent, so even if we can't get him on the road, of course I'd love to just try and get him, obviously by virtue of his penalty, which I think we should be able to, but we're going to try and push on then just a little bit more. And of course now, hopefully when we go into tomorrow's main event here, we might be able to try and carry some sort of advantage into the Grand Prix. We're going to try over these final 4 laps to see if we can bring Bottas in line with Oscar Piastri here, but there's not going to hold out too much hope at the moment. There's actually Zhou as well closing in on Oscar Piastri, as well there. So maybe we might be able to get 17th and 19th, all things considered, but I'm kind of hoping for quite a miracle still. I think by the end of this thing, here we go then, Zhou Guanyu, I'm going to put him on the high-risk overtakes. Easy going to be able to get the DRS down in towards turn 1 then on Oscar Piastri. Yes, he is gaining on the McLaren. You can just see how little straight line speed we have in this car. Ooh, I thought he was going to run into the back of him there. That got scary for just a moment. We're going to have a look down the inside at turn 2. Oscar Piastri rather lucky, actually, that he gave us some room on the exit of the corner then. But go on, Joe. He's completed an overtake. We're very, very happy with that indeed. And he is now up into P19 then of the Grand Prix. So still proving that we've got some pace to fight against the AI here. But just a handful of laps to go. And it looks like Ferrari, actually in these shorter races, maybe able to work the tyres the way they want to, really have closed in and obviously built up that gap over Red Bull there. Closed in terms of raw performance, have opened up the gap in terms of the race pace here. But yeah, now Bottas is inside the range of Logan Sargent. We're going to wait and see if he can try and get a run out of the final corner. We might try and just save a little bit of battery though on this lap. We'll go harvest and just make sure obviously we don't lose the gap, which we won't. So yeah, as we head back down in towards turn 1, then we're going to have to start micromanaging a bit more. Obviously, for those of you that watched that Saudi Arabian GP challenge we did a couple of days ago, obviously that was very, very good fun, but obviously required a lot of management of Yuki Tsunoda's driving.
3 to go.
But yeah, look at that, it will save up a lot of battery as we head back down in towards the first corner here, but it might end up being a bit of a drag race to the end there, as Zhou's still under pressure from Oscar Piastri behind him. But of course, the tyres on the softs have hung on surprisingly well throughout this race there, but yeah, hopefully we're going to try and get even more charge. No, not quite able to. And it looks like we've harvested everything we can at this stage of the day, but let's just see what we can do then, as we've actually dropped out of the range from Sargent in front. So we'll get back on the ERS, we'll get back on the fuel usage. And we may as well obviously go aggressive in these final couple of laps as well on the tyres. Yeah, let's just go all out on the tyres then towards the end of this race, as Sargent clearly has been told to get on with it, because he's opened up about a 1.4 second gap. Hopefully we're going to be able to try and bring that back down again. As you can see, even on all of the fuel usage and everything, we still lose pace to Williams down the straights, which is rather alarming. I won't lie there, as yeah, Sargent's definitely been told to get on with it. He's not using as much battery down the end of the straights, but I'm going to have to give Zhou the same message here, just because Oscar Piastri is still hanging on quite close. But there we go, back inside the range now as we get ready to start the final lap of this sprint race there. Charles Leclerc still at the front of the field, but, you know, we're really focusing on what our two drivers are going to be able to do here. As Bottas, I think we're really going to have to try. We've either got to get the run back in towards turn 3, or then save battery around the rest of the lap there. Looks like Piastri, yeah, his damage has meant that Zhou should be pretty safe for P19. But it does worry me slightly just how hard we're having to work to try and get any kind of positions here. You know, the fact that we're fighting for last, and we're still trying to work this hard to make sure we don't finish there, is rather alarming as we make our way out of the final corner, though. Bottas inside the wheel tracks of Logan Sargent in front of him, surely now with the DRS as well. Going to be able to try and get a bit of a run in towards that first corner. We're just dipped under on the fuel as we make our way back in towards that first corner. We should get a load of charge, though, on the brakes through that first corner. And you can see now all over the back of Logan Sargent now eyeing up a move for turn 2, but thinks better of it, does Valtteri. But can we try and get a run in towards turn 3 then? We're going to go all out on the battery once again, full deploy. Are we able to have a look to the inside of Logan Sargent? Bottas is certainly thinking about it. Down the inside we'll go on the final lap of the sprint race here. And are we just about going to be able to make the move work? Sargent's still trying to hang on in there. Is he going to be able to hang it around the outside? I think Bottas might just about have done it, and he has. Bottas through and up then into P17 of the Grand Prix. We're still going to have to really worry towards the end of this one. There's actually Nick de Vries as well, losing a lot of time late on in the day. But of course, it doesn't matter too much if Sargent is able to hang on or even get back past us down the straight, because of course he's got that penalty anyway. But yeah, we'd love just to hang on to it on the road there. He had no idea what's going on with Nick de Vries, whether he's hasn't picked up any damage, but certainly losing out a lot of time towards the end of this race there. But Charles Leclerc has come through to win here in the Azerbaijan Grand Prix sprint race there. Ferrari with a 1-2, Alonso locking P3 down, so Verstappen doesn't even hang on to a podium in the end there. Hamilton will come through for 6th ahead of Russell and Lance Stroll there. But Valtteri Bottas rounding out the final couple of corners. We're going to have to watch and see if Sargent can get any closer to us as we make our way out the final couple of corners. And Sargent is gaining at the final turn here. That Williams is an absolute rocket ship down the straights. But will it be Bottas? Will it be Logan Sargent? Drag racing between Bottas and a Williams towards the line. Bottas has done it. Well, hang on to P17, all things considered there. Zhou Guanyu, I've got no idea what's going on with him, but I think we're in for a very, very long Grand Prix as well tomorrow afternoon there. It's up towards the line. Zhou Guanyu is only going to walk away with P19 there, but he does beat a wounded McLaren. Oscar Piastri, P20, all things considered.
Valtteri Bottas misses out on the points in today's sprint.
It's a P17 finish. They really struggled here, but that's how you learn.
Well, and there we go then, the end of the Azerbaijan GP sprint race there, and Charles Leclerc picking 8 points up to kickstart the weekend. Ferrari, I'm sure, now going into Grand Prix Sunday with a lot more confidence behind them as well there, and yeah, that's going to do them wonders in the bigger picture. Bottas up 1 spot, Zhou Guanyu as well at 1 spot, but yeah, we just seem to be in a world of hurt this weekend there. Pierre Gasly as well, seemingly with some penalty or another. But yeah, that's been a decent little sprint race. But there we go then, that is going to do us for today's video. Like I said, we will be back tomorrow with the full race event here from Azerbaijan. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and yeah, we'll be back very, very soon with more F1 Manager content. A massive thank you to all of my YouTube members and my Patreon supporters for their continued donations to help my work. These things go much further than I think a lot of you ever realise, and allow me to continue making content full-time here on YouTube. So if you want to support me from as little as £1 a month and be featured on all of these end clips, either click the join button next to the subscribe or head over to my Patreon. There's a link down in the description.